Ehtasham Haque, a local councillor who launched a petition to have that statue taken down. Thanks so much for being with us. First, take us back to the beginning and tell us why and when you actually started this petition. That statue had been there for ages. Why did it have to go?
I think that there is a sentiment from the East End that we should also express our solidarity to brother George Floyd, who was brutally killed in Minneapolis, and many brothers and sisters out there who are campaigning for equal rights and justice and against racism. So I felt that it's not just enough for me to just go and chant their Black Lives Matter. When I researched, I found Robert Milligan's statue proudly standing when I walked past the statue to go to protest. And then I thought, this statue should not be here. It has no relevance whatsoever to 21st century civilized society. Given that when he died, he was owning, 526 slaves, and he was one of the architects of West India Dock, which is just next to my house and the very ward that I represent.
Okay, so tell us then about what you think is the psychology here. I mean, why should people actually be offended that tributes, particularly to men like that held slaves and were wealthy because of slave ownership in part, why we should care that they are still in a way being honored?
I think it's relevant to systemic racism that many minority communities are facing. So when we want to live an equal life in the UK, for example, and we see a statue which was initially erected to commemorate or celebrate a slave trader's life, then that's something very offending. And given that the sense of belonging is often challenged through various racist acts when you're being told to go back home or you're treated not as equal, I think these symbols matter. And I think what's also very important in terms of reconciliation with our past, I think it's an important milestone when we are suggesting that these symbols of racism or these symbols of slave trade should not be displayed in front of us. They should be, and they could be taken to museum. So this is history rather than preserving some 200 years old merchant's statue outside our house or outside our buildings.
But I mean, how do you convince those who do say, this is our history, with all of its faults, it's our history, we need to embrace it, we need to be proud somehow? How do you convince them that, well, no, actually, we need to evolve and progress as people and recognize that these are not things we should be paying tribute to today, now that we understand the injustices?
Yeah, I think, and one way to do it is to be more compassionate. We should remember a statue. When Robert Milligan's statue was removed yesterday, Robert Milligan did not bleed. He did not feel any pain. He did not die. And in contrast to that, what we must remember, those millions of victims of slave trade who died, felt pain, and endured a life of suffering. So I think it's important to recognize that, and it's a one step forward. Probably, yes, it's symbolic, and I think national policies and local policymakers should now reflect in actually bring about sincere and genuine changes so that we can have a society where everyone will feel equal before being equal. And when I walk past a statue, or if a Black brother or sister of mine walk past that statue, that they can see a slave trader is glorified, then how can they feel equal, let alone ultimately, being treated equal?
Right. A quick final question for you, because, it was interesting to see protesters in the UK deface a statue of Churchill, while in the United States we listened to Trump's spokesperson actually triumphantly compare Donald Trump to Winston Churchill. Donald Trump's actions in that photo op at the church when he had the protesters cleared, she compared his actions to Churchill. during World War II and him visiting the sites in the wake of the damage of World War II. I mean, does it not just really show how far apart people can be on issues like this and how the sympathy and empathy can be completely gone from the equation?
Definitely, and I think education is key here. I have been reflecting, and I was thinking, how come even when I've had some critical responses from some of the residents and many people, I've had to endure a lot of online abuse as well. And I was thinking, hold on, why are they not understanding that this is something very, very emotional, and this is something very close to people's dignity? And I think that conversation is already happening. So people were not aware of who was Robert Milligan when they were walking past his statue all these years. But because this is happening now, everyone's reflecting, and the majority are of this consensus that actually it's a good thing that we are removing these landmarks or statues, either inside museum. People should understand history. People should appreciate history. But I think the conflicting views will always be there. And what Donald Trump or probably at times the rhetorics even by our Prime Minister Boris Johnson doesn't help is them not working sincerely to unite the country and make sure that everyone coming together for a better future. Rather, they are politicizing or resorting to political point scoring for electioneering or for being more famous.
That's politics. Okay, Ehtasham Haque, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much for joining us.